what is on the other side of that hard work for you. Like, just how you might have noticed how much easier the video game got as you leveled up, the same thing is true in life, man. Like, the things today that really drag you down, there is a future out there with you in it, and that version of yourself would not even bat an eye at the thing that is absolutely fucking you over today. Hey mate, I'm Coach Mitch, and welcome to the Unbreakable Man podcast. It's my goal to help you achieve excellent results in the area of your health and physical fitness, your career or business, your relationships, and in your own personal passions. This is going to be your one-stop shop if you are the kind of man who wants to achieve his fullest potential in life. And the only way to do that is by becoming unbreakable. What's up, brother, and welcome to today's episode of the Unbreakable Man podcast. Now, in today's episode, I want to talk about the one thing, the main thing that I've identified over my many years of listening to other people in the success and personal development space, after reading hundreds of articles and going through many books and working on myself, my own personal experience. This is kind of the one thing that acts as the linchpin that can help you make your life easier, make your experience of life more satisfying, more meaningful, and ultimately help you become the kind of person who doesn't get knocked down regularly by the challenges that they experience in life. Now, as a bloke listening to this or watching this right now, you are probably going through something in your life today, in your relationships, in your physical health, in your professional life, that's got you worried, that's got you stressed out. You notice some threat in your life and it's having an impact on you and perhaps stopping you from responding to the things in your life in a way that shows you to be the confident, strong man that you'd like to be. You're either dealing with something like that right this very moment, or you have dealt with something like that in the past, perhaps even in the not too distant past, or you're well aware of the fact that at some point in your future, something like that is going to occur, right? We can see the patterns in life. Life is challenging. My kind of baseline feelings towards life is that it's beautiful. We should try to live every single day. We should try to make the most of our time here because this is all we've got. But a layer on top of that is being fully aware of the fact that life is not necessarily kind, that life doesn't necessarily give a shit how you feel. And it's up to us as individuals to be able to accept the tragedies of life, the challenges of life, and be able to turn them into something meaningful, to be able to turn them into something hopefully positive or productive. But only you and I can do that for ourselves. No one else, and certainly not life itself, is going to do that for us. And today's episode is about me sharing with you what I've identified as the main thing that you and I can do to make our lives easier, to make our lives more satisfying and more meaningful, despite the heartache that we're inevitably going to face, despite the worry, despite the anxiety, despite the insecurities, whatever those things are for you or for me. How can we make our life great, positive, exciting, fun, meaningful in the face of all of the things that threaten to take us down and to, cause us to break down? We all have those things in our life. We've all either been through those things, are currently going through those things, or know that we're going to face something like that in the future. And this episode is about preparing you for those things. Now, obviously, the name of the episode is Build Your Character. And I would like to draw some parallels between real life and the virtual world. And I would like to ask you to take a second to think about perhaps back in the day when you used to play video games. Or if you still currently play video games, then think about those video games that you play. And in most video games, what you end up doing is you end up playing as a character, some virtual version of yourself. And what you may notice when you first start that game, you've got a fresh new character, you're starting from level 0, and you've got to work your way up. And in the beginning, many of the challenges that you encounter in that game are beyond your scope. Like, you are unprepared to deal with those challenges. You know, I can give you a funny personal example of that. A game I used to play, and you might know it, is called Skyrim, and it's like a fantasy game where you have to do challenges and you have to like kill other characters and steal their weapons and all that sort of shit. And in that game, you build up your level, your power level, so to speak. And I remember when I first started that game, first time on there, brand new character, you're at like level between 0 and level 5, which is very, very low. It goes up to like 100 or something like that. And even the weakest characters are kicking my ass. Like, I literally cannot walk down certain paths because there's like a freaking bear or like a spider, like a giant spider or something on that path that just destroys me every time. And there's nothing I can do about it. I can't fight my way out of this thing because that creature's power level is higher than mine. And no matter what I do, I'm just going to get my ass kicked if I decide to go that way. So I simply couldn't go that way. And then as you play the game more and more, and I'm leveling up and I'm gaining new abilities and new strengths and weapons and all that kind of stuff, those things right at the beginning of the game, which like were unkillable for me, at level 30, I could one arrow and I could kill that same thing, no worries. And I would like you to take that same concept and apply it to your own life. Because that's what building your character can really do for you. Just like you might build your character in a video game, and how as you build that character, your character's ability to overcome challenges within the game improves vastly. It's the same in life. If you want to make your life easier, the only way to do it, and I know this is not what you want to hear because it's fucking hard. It requires discipline, consistency. It requires, diligently putting in the work. But the only way to make your life easier is not to avoid things. It's not to hope and pray that life will just be easier. It's to make yourself so good that the things that were once difficult for you are now no longer difficult because of who you are as a person. Just as you'll notice your increase in abilities as you build your character in a video game, the same thing is true in life. As you become a better, stronger, more confident, more capable, better connected human being, your ability to overcome obstacles in your life improves dramatically. So if you want to make your life easier, brother, if you want to be able to take ideas in your brain and turn them into reality quicker, then the best and only way that I've been able to identify is to build your character, is to become a better, more confident, more competent, more capable man. And like I said, I know that's not what you want to hear. It's a tough sell, right? It's a tough sell. Hey man, do the hard work and you'll get where you want to go. It's a tough sell. But I wanted to try and put it in a way that might help you understand what is on the other side of that hard work for you. Like, just how you might have noticed how much easier the video game got as you leveled up, the same thing is true in life, man. Like, the things today that really drag you down, there is a future out there with you in it, and that version of yourself would not even bat an eye at the thing that is absolutely fucking you over today. It is possible. Those things today that you struggle with the most, it is possible for you to become the kind of man who honestly would just shrug that off in 5 seconds. You could be that guy. It's not out of the question. There's just a certain amount of work between where you are right now and that point that you need to do. But you could have that outcome. Imagine what a difference that would make if you're a father. If you were that kind of guy and you were the leader and example for your kids, and that was the example you were setting. Imagine what that would do for your child's future. if you were that kind of person, if you'd gone through that process, if you had built your character to that point, again, imagining the things that you struggle with the most today and imagining those things not even being on your radar as a challenge at some point in the future. I'm not talking about you being able to get through those things a bit easier. I'm talking about you being so good that the things that really bother you today, that you really struggle with, are a thing of the past once you've built your character to a certain point. You know, you might think, well, what do you mean by building your character? Well, I would say that first and foremost, it comes from your perspective. I would say that what you see as a big problem changes as you become a stronger person. What you see as irrelevant changes as you become a stronger person. You know, things that once really bothered me, I now have no issue getting through, or I literally wouldn't even notice that they were happening in my life today because they're that unimportant, but at one point would have been a real struggle. You know, I think I might have spoken about it so far, but you know, there was a point in my life where I smoked weed on a regular basis, and it was really, really difficult to stop and to avoid the cravings that would come up for weed. But nowadays, it doesn't even cross my mind. Like, I had to just think really hard then to think of something that I struggle with today like that. It doesn't even cross my mind. You know, there is no challenge in me not smoking weed anymore. I don't even think about it. And that's what I'm talking about with you. Those things that you struggle with right now, the things that you can't imagine going without right now, there is a future out there for you where you don't even think about it anymore, where it has no bearing on your life at all. And it's simply a result of you becoming a better person. And like I said, I think it's a result of you changing your perspective. You start to see the things that are really important to you. You start to also see that you are the kind of guy that can make those things happen. I suppose it's perspective and also belief in yourself. And that belief in ourselves, you might think that as a bit of an airy-fairy concept, but belief just comes from having evidence. Like, think about why you believe things today. You believe things because you have a bunch of evidence in your past to support that belief. So if you want to believe that you are capable of changing the things in your life that you're not happy with, that are really important to you to change, then you have to stack a few wins. You have to take some action, get a positive result, notice that you've gotten a positive result, remind yourself that, hey, I can create positive results in this area of my life, and use that confidence, that newfound little bit of confidence, to create another positive result. That next positive result just adds to your confidence and your growing list of evidence that you can do it, and you continue to stack wins. And over time, you have a new belief system about yourself and about what you're capable of. You have a new perspective on what life has to offer you and what your future could look like. So when you think about building your character, it's a lot of internal work. And I think for people who, you know, if you've never tried to do any of that sort of stuff before, it can be difficult to wrap your head around because, you know, it's easy to see the things in our physical environment and notice how those things change. But it takes a bit more effort and a bit more deliberate action to notice how things can change inside of us, in our inner environment. We have to actually stop for a fucking second, which is hard because we're so busy, and ask ourselves some questions about where we are, where we want to be, and what the fuck is stopping us. Most people never do that, which is why most people are not getting the results that they want to get in their life. It's why most men are not setting a great example for their kids. You know, it's why most men don't see a really positive, exciting future for themselves and just end up doing the same thing day in, day out because this work goes undone. And this episode is about, most of all, it's about helping you understand the fucking true benefits of doing that work, of building your character, of looking at your values and your belief systems today and how those things might be holding you back and what changes you might need to make to those areas of your life, to those areas of your inner world, and how changing those things is going to help you change your actions, which is going to help you change the world around you. So, if you're still listening to this, if you're still interested, and I really hope you are, because I don't see another way forwards for any of us. It just doesn't happen by accident. We all know this. It's success and making your life the way you want it to is only going to happen as a result of you consistently doing the work that needs to be done to make that result a reality. Fact. That's it. End of story. How we go about that is, that's up to interpretation. To me, I think that making the inner changes to how we see the world and our beliefs around what it takes to make changes in life, to me, that is the only how that I can see. And that's what's worked for me all this time, and that's what I've noticed has worked for the human beings that I coach who have created amazing results for themselves. So if you are still listening to this or watching this right now, you're interested, you want to know, then I'm going to give you 4 very kind of basic steps for you to take to help you get on the journey of building your character, of upgrading yourself so that the things in your life that threaten to knock you off your pathway to improving your situation can't do that to you anymore. So the first thing I want to say is getting clear and becoming aware of the parts of your character that are holding you back right now. If we're trying to create a result, i.e. build my character, become a better man, a more confident, capable, strong, competent man, then I need to know what is it about me right now that doesn't match up with that goal. What are the things that has to change about me today in order to get myself to that point? So before you can do anything else, if you want to become a better man, if you want to make your life easier for yourself by making yourself stronger, then you need to identify your weaknesses, the parts of your character that don't line up with the kind of person you want to be. Now, if you're not too sure how to answer that question, because again, if you've never done this sort of stuff before, you've never asked yourself this question before, that is a very out there concept. So this might be a better way of attacking this question of what are my weaknesses, what are my character flaws, and firstly, we all have them. I don't care how much work you've done on yourself, you still have work to do. Same goes for me, same goes for you, for everyone else on this planet. No matter how good you are, there's always progress to be made. We are imperfect by nature, but life is about getting as close to our full potential as possible, and that's what makes life meaningful, in my opinion. So, if you're not too sure how to identify your weaknesses, a good question you could ask yourself is, what am I insecure about? What am I insecure about? And we often, that might be a question you've never asked yourself before. You never even considered it openly. You have insecurities, and you do. We all do. But perhaps you never actually sat down and tried to identify them. Perhaps because it's difficult and it's kind of a painful experience to go through. We don't really want to confront the things about ourselves that we don't like. However, if we want to change them, that's what we've got to do. So what are your insecurities? And because, think about it this way. You may have noticed that over the last few decades, the world has become more and more politically correct. It is now a crime to offend anybody. And the backlash that you might get from sharing an opinion that at one point was considered to be socially accepted and now is super controversial. And I understand why that is, because it's not, we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And if you go out of your way to do that, even if what you say is correct, if your intention is to hurt someone's feelings, then you're just a dick. However, if you are the person on the receiving end of that insult, and you really feel that insult, it really hits you, it affects your confidence, it affects your mental well-being, then the solution for you is not to avoid ever having to hear those things. It's not to try to ignore those things. It's to make the change within yourself that you need to make in order for those same words to not affect you anymore. That would be the ultimate change that you could make to never have to have that experience. In other words, address the insecurity. Don't run from it. Because just because we now live in this world where no one can have a critical opinion of somebody else, doesn't mean that you're not insecure. Doesn't mean that you don't dislike that part of yourself that someone might be able to point out and hurt your feelings with. It doesn't mean that that is gone. It just means that you're becoming less and less aware of it. It means you're still that same person. You still have that same insecurity. It can still affect you. But you just don't run into that problem as often in your life. But the problem still exists. And it can still come around to bite you in the arse at any moment. So the best thing that you could do is identify that insecurity and do the work on it. And that might, let's say you're insecure about your weight, your body. You're an overweight person. The way that you become more secure about it might not necessarily be to lose weight. I mean, obviously, as a health professional, that's what I would love for you. I would love for you to have a healthy, fit, strong body for both health reasons and then also for your own personal confidence and pride within yourself. However, there are people out there that are overweight that genuinely are not insecure about it. And that's still a good outcome as well. If you could pair that lack of insecurity with good health, that would be ideal. However, but there are also people out there that are in great shape, but they're still insecure about their shape, their figure, because they haven't worked on the insecurity. They've only worked on the outward projection of that feeling. So it's got to be both, right? You're working on the insecurity and you're also perhaps doing some of the physical work to change the thing about yourself that might reflect that insecurity. So point is, figure out the weaknesses of your character, the things that are currently stopping you from being the guy you want to be. Maybe you get angry really easy. Maybe you get really anxious. Maybe you are very shy, whatever it might be. Identify those things and then make a point of fixing them. Just if you're a shy person, you're someone that really struggles to start conversations with people and has a bit of social anxiety, just stop for 1 second and just close your eyes. Picture all of the ways in which that affects your life today. And then I want you to imagine yourself in each of those scenarios being this outgoing, confident human being. And imagine how each of those scenarios would change if you were the outgoing and confident person in conversation that you really wanted to be. How valuable of a change would that be? Imagine if you could live the rest of your life without that insecurity. You have no idea how much that's holding you back right now. It is limiting your experience of life. If you're a middle-aged bloke listening to this, you've got 40 more years of dealing with this anxiety and insecurity. 40 more fucking years. Why would you do that to yourself? It's like you've put your life in a fucking cage, in a box, and it can never be bigger than that cage or box that you've put it in because of this insecurity that you're facing. Imagine having the character of a man who could go into each of those social situations and feel really confident and outgoing and relaxed in that situation. You could be that person, brother. You could have that experience of life, and you could benefit from all of the changes that will come along with that. But you have to be aware of it, and you have to make a commitment to making that change. Now, once you're clear on the things that you know you need to change about yourself, you know, the weaknesses of your character, the next thing that you could do that will make a huge difference in your ability to actually make those changes, because that's the hard part. Becoming aware, step one, really important, but actually doing the work, very difficult. And that next bit is environment. And if you listen to last week's episode 30, about who you surround yourself with, I'm reiterating this right now. If you want to have a strong character, if you want to be the kind of person who can deal with life's challenges with ease, then you need to get yourself around strong charactered people. You need to get yourself around people that are already dealing with life's challenges in a really positive and productive way. You know, if you're doing that, the chances of you also learning how to demonstrate that same strength and competency multiplies by 10, 100. Who knows? But because you're in that environment, because you're surrounded by it constantly, because you're learning from those people that you're spending all this time with, because you're doing that, your chance of success skyrockets. So getting around people that are already doing these things, that already have that strength of character, makes a huge difference. If you don't know how to find those people, just as a tip, those people are out in the real world living their life. Those people are actually not that difficult to find, because they are often advertising the fact that they get up to things in their life. You know, this might be the guy that you look at on Facebook who goes bushwalking all the time, and you go, fuck this guy, he goes bushwalking all the time, thinks he's so great. That might actually be the guy that you need to go and spend some time with. You know, the guy that's doing really well, the guy that seems to be taking action consistently in his life, that might be the kind of guy that you need to get yourself around. And if you're thinking, nah, screw that kind of guy, I don't like that guy, you know, he's always, you know, he's showing off and going on about all these things that he's doing. Remember that reaction to what you're seeing, that might be an insecurity for you as well. Like, you look at someone who's doing well, and instead of going, oh man, that's awesome, if your first reaction is, fuck that guy, you know, he's just a showboat, or whatever it might be, maybe that's an insecurity for you, man. You know, it makes you feel shit to see someone doing so well and doing so many things in their life. And it's okay. Like, that's all of us. I'm sure every single bloke listening to this right now has had that experience. But if you continue to think that way, then your ability to build your character is very, very unlikely. Because what that's telling me, and perhaps even, and what that's telling yourself, is that you don't like people with strong characters. You don't respect people that are doing things consistently in their life, that are going out of their way, that are challenging themselves, that are, you know, advertising the fact that they're doing well and succeeding. So that means that subconsciously you don't want to be that way. You don't want to be judging yourself for being that kind of person, or you might think that you're going to end up being that kind of person if you put in this work in your life. It's like, if you hate rich people, you're never going to be rich, you know, because you can't be this thing that you consistently seem to dislike. You know, so if you want to be a successful, strong, competent, capable man, get yourself around those people. You know, and if you find yourself hating those kinds of people, then your chance of success, basically zero. Because your body is never going to allow you, your brain is never going to allow you to become this thing that you keep saying you hate. So you've got to be willing to get yourself around those kinds of guys. And oftentimes those kind of guys they love helping other dudes make that kind of progress in their life. I mean, I know I love doing that kind of stuff. I know there's plenty of guys in my group that I would see as leaders within my group that love helping guys overcome challenges, that love helping guys succeed. And those same guys lead by example. So there's a ton of opportunity for that. If you don't know how to find those people, they're not that hard to find, because they advertise the fact that they're doing well. You know, you could look for a coach like me, or you could even just think about people you might know personally who just get up to things, and see if you and ask if you can join them on one of their adventures or one of their activities, whatever it might be. Spend time around those people. Now, the next thing on here, and this is a tough bit. Discipline. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I tell you or what anyone on this planet can do for you or give you to help you make this process easier. You still have to do the work. You still have to go through all the rigmarole, all the trials and tribulations, all the ups and downs of learning more about yourself and about life, and building this perspective and building these beliefs in yourself, and not allowing failure to stop you. You still have to go through all of that. There's no way around it. Literally no one can do this for you. You're either always going to be stuck in the life, in the mind, in the body that you have right now, or you're going to eventually get to the point where you say, screw this, I'm sick of living this way, I must change, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. Those are the only two ways this is going to go, my friend. Now, set goals, get yourself around good people, have a plan in place, track your progress. All those things are going to really help. But at the end of the day, you still need to actually do the work. And that's where discipline comes in. And discipline, like everything else, is something that you build. You don't start with 100% discipline. You start with 0% discipline, and then you go to 1%, and 2%, 3%, 10%, 15%. And you start to become more disciplined over time. The only issue is if you're starting to take some action and you're noticing you don't have a super high level of discipline, and then you just stop taking action altogether. That's most people's experience of trying to improve themselves, if they even try in the first place. They start taking action and they don't do it perfectly, and then they stop because they didn't do it perfectly. That's not how it ever is going to work. It's going to work because you just didn't stop. You failed because you didn't do it perfectly, you tried again. And you failed because you didn't do it perfectly, you tried again. And, you know what, you tried a little bit better this time, and you learned from some of those past mistakes. So you actually know what, you have a bit of success. Great, okay, cool. Now that success is going to lead to, a bit more confidence within yourself to try again and push a little bit further. And then you might fail again, and that's okay. But then you learn from that failure, and then, oh my goodness, you get a bit of success again. That's how it's going to work until you find yourself becoming the kind of guy who goes success, 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 success. And even then, there's still going to be some failure sprinkled in, and that's totally fine. That's absolutely fine. But discipline is something you build as well. And the last thing that I wanted to share with you on how you're going to make this happen is having patience. Having patience. That's something that we are all absolutely shit at today. Patience. It's like this word has basically been removed from the modern day vocabulary because everyone wants everything right fucking now. And that's again why most people, most blokes, are not living the life that they want to live. They're not setting the example that they want to set for their kids. They don't have an exciting future to look forward to. Simply because we need to have a result the second we take some action on it. And that's just not how it ever works. You're going to have to try over and over again. And to be honest, just to create a realistic expectation of what this process, this journey is going to look like for you, it's going to be very gradual. You're going to be layering little mini either successes or lessons on top of each other until you get to the point where you are now this person with a completely upgraded character. And it will be so gradual that you might not even notice it. It'll only be once you stop and consider the fact that, hey, I just bumped into this same problem again that I was dealing with a year ago. And you know what? It wasn't a big deal. It's not even affecting me one bit. Last year, this was like stressing me out hardcore. This year, okay, whatever, I'll deal with it. That's what you won't even notice that you've made a change until you stop to really consider it and think about it. That's what it's been like for me. And there's still lots of progress out there for me, 100%. But once again, until you stop to consider it, because it happens so gradually, until you stop to consider it, you won't even realize, and then you'll go, holy crap, I am so much better than I was before, and I didn't even know it. That's what it's going to be like. It's not going to be a snap change. It's never going to be like that. I mean, there are things you can do to shorten the time span that it takes, but it's still going to be hard and it's still going to take some time. You know, that shortening of the time span might mean, okay, what you could have done in 5 years, you get done in 2. It's still 2 years though. It's still 2 years with a consistent effort. It's not going to happen in a week or a month or even 6 months. You'll notice a big change after 12 months. And people will go, oh man, 12 months? That's ages. It's like, bro, you might have 50 years left. So if you put in the work for 1 year to then get to live your life as a better version of yourself for the next 49 years, how the fuck would that not be worth it? Or you could just be the guy you are right now, dealing with all the same insecurities and stresses and worries, not getting better and not setting the example you want to set for your kids. And you could do that for the next 50 years if you want. To me, putting in the work right now, even if it takes a little bit of time, and even if it's difficult, far outweighs the stress and the struggle of continuing to deal with these inadequacies. So I hope that makes some sense, brother. You know, I hope that that's giving you something to think about. I hope that you see some of the things about yourself that you know are holding you back and that you can see would make a huge difference if you got a handle on them. And I hope that you're already starting to think about some things that you could do to make those changes. Remember, a big one, environment. Getting yourself around people who can help you make those changes. It's going to drastically increase your chance of success and drastically reduce the time it takes you to get to where you're trying to get to. You know, if you're on the Gold Coast and you're a man looking to get in great physical and mental shape, one of the best things you could do is to come and join the Unbreakable Man team. Come and join me down at the gym, Snap Fitness, Pacific Pines, myself and all of the other boys that are already taking action on these things and becoming better men and becoming better examples for their kids. That's a fantastic option for you right now. You've already listened to this whole podcast. If you agree with the things that I've said and you want to make some changes, that's a fantastic place to start. All right. And one last thing. If you do want to do something like that, then you can message me on Instagram, which is unbreakableman_challenge. You can flick me an email at mitch@unbreakableman.com.au, or you can jump on the Unbreakable Man website, which is www.unbreakableman.com.au. All right, with that said, brother, hope you had a really good experience listening to this podcast. Leave a comment down below if you have anything you'd like to add or any feedback for me. Other than that, I hope to see you on the next episode. Have a great week. Cheers. Hey mate, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Unbreakable Man podcast. If you did, it would be absolutely fantastic if you could leave us a 5-star review, because that's going to help us get our message in front of more men who need to hear it. Now, if you have some feedback for me, I'd love to hear that too. Comment down below. And if you just need some mini doses of Unbreakable Man motivation throughout your week, then you can follow us across all social platforms. On Facebook, it's Unbreakable Man Challenge. On Instagram, it's Unbreakable Man_challenge. And on TikTok and YouTube, it's just Unbreakable Man. Your support would be absolutely invaluable. Now, last but not least, do not forget, men aren't born, they're built.